Are we now set to strike Iran?
It's too soon to say, Joe, but the strategy is looking reminiscent to what we saw in Venezuela with essentially a potential economic blockade. You know, Iran is one of the, its lifeblood is its oil exports, much like Maduro's Venezuela. Yes. So this combination of economic strangulation as a potential prelude to political or military decapitation. I don't think that the president has obviously made up his mind. He's floated the idea publicly of a potential deal, but they're putting the pieces in place for a strategy which looks very similar to what we saw in Venezuela.
Well, that's really interesting. He said today it would be bigger than Venezuela. I don't know if he's referring to the size of this flotilla, but you're not as concerned about kinetic action. We just choke off the Iranians and wait. That's what you're suggesting?
No, not necessarily, because the president made clear on almost, I think, 8, 9 occasions that if Iran killed its protesters, that the United States was locked and loaded and ready to take action.
That's right.
The numbers that you quoted of casualties, I think you said 5,000, 6,000. What we're hearing informally or unofficially from even Ministry of Health officials inside Iran the numbers are astronomical.
I've heard north of 30,000.
30,000, yeah. Okay. So we don't know for sure.
Remember when help was on the way?
Exactly.
This was some time ago. The president said if the executions take place, if you kill protesters, we will strike. We did not. Why would that happen now? What would be the purpose of doing it now?
Well, if you look at this from President Trump's perspective, number one, Iran clearly drove a Mack truck through his red line. So you know, that part is clear. Second, this is a president that on 3 occasions made major gambles on Iran. In 2018, he withdrew from Obama's nuclear deal with Iran. People said that would be World War III. In 2020, he assassinated Iran's top military commander, Qasem Soleimani. And obviously last summer, he dropped 12 to 16 bunker buster bombs on Iran.
Sure did.
And he feels that all those decisions went successfully. They were vindicated. So I don't think he really fears a major fallout from a regime which is as weak as it's perhaps ever been.
Time and place, I guess, of our making. With that said, you remember the president's statement following our most previous strikes against Iran. Total obliteration. As you understand it, what is the status of Iran's nuclear program? To what extent have they been able to rebuild?
I don't think they've really been able to rebuild in a meaningful way because the sites have been largely destroyed. Now, they still have that highly enriched uranium stockpile, and it's not clear exactly where that is. But because of the fact that the country has been so thoroughly penetrated by Israeli and likely U.S. intelligence, they don't feel confident that they can make a mad dash for a weapon and get away with it.
Really interesting. We've talked quite a bit about the president's Board of Peace, of which he is the chairman. He's invited the likes of Vladimir Putin and Benjamin Netanyahu to join that board. Is this going to be the board that solves the crisis eventually in Iran?
Well, I think the Board of Peace is with regards to an Israeli-Palestinian deal, but the question is whether he will...
He said it could go global.
You know, the question... So Iran is essentially reliant on 2 countries as strategic/economic allies. Those are Russia and China. 90% of Iran's oil exports go to China. So if the United States does try to pursue a naval blockade to block Iran's oil exports, that's going to be a source of tension with China. So that's the question, what he does there. And the Russian government wants to see this Iranian regime stay in power. So how the president manages those 2 relationships remains to be seen.
What does Saudi Arabia think of this prospect? And is MBS in the president's ear right now?
So oftentimes what we know from Gulf countries is what they will say publicly on issues related to Iran may be a little different than what they think privately, because these countries are all fearful of Iran. They've been attacked before by Iran, and they worry that if they're viewed as the tip of the spear, they're collaborating with any U.S. military strategy, that they will pay the brunt of it. So publicly, these countries have voiced their concerns about any military action. And, you know, all regional countries are worried. What could happen if there's a collapse of government and refugees pouring out of Iran? But I think privately, very few countries will will shed a tear if they see this Iranian regime brought down a few notches.
Even in the neighborhood.
Even in the neighborhood.